I'm Anita Jones and I'm a commercial account exec for Arthur J. Gallagher, a global insurance broker. And at the moment I'm concentrating on talking to my clients about cyber liability with the advent of GDPR, which is coming in next year.
Is that in addition to the Data Protection Act, or does it replace the Data Protection Act?
It replaces the Data Protection Act and it enhances the scope of the Act. It introduces stricter penalties for breach or non-compliance, and it focuses on consent and data controllers and data subjects.
Okay, so what does all of this mean then for businesses? I mean, we're an agency. We work with a lot of clients. We build websites for those clients. We're building portals for those clients. What does all of this consent, data controllers, data subject stuff, what does it mean for them?
Well, it means that they need to put some systems in place where they're capturing the consent and they're being open and honest. And whether you're doing it on paper, whether you're doing it in a CRM, whether you're doing it online, you need to be able to evidence that you've got that consent. You also need to have a procedure in place where if a data subject requests a copy of the data you're holding about them, you need to be able to give that to them, and it needs to be in a friendly format so they can read it. You also need to have a system in place where if they request that their data is deleted and they're forgotten, which is the phrase, then
The right to be forgotten.
yes, then they have that right.
And you need evidence that you've done that.
Absolutely.
So I suppose you also need something to be put in place to actually capture that consent in the first place as well, and that could be a tick box on a form, for example. Yeah. And I assume you would need, like you do with terms and conditions, to link that off to a beefed up privacy policy that includes this stuff to do with GDPR.
Absolutely.
So what are the implications for not complying with this legislation?
So there's financial implications whereby you can be fined up to 4% of your worldwide annual turnover. There's also a fine where you can get fined 2% of your turnover if you fail to notify the breach within 72 hours. There's also reputational damage that could occur as a result of it.
So what practical steps can businesses take to prepare for GDPR?
Well, they need to look at the types of data that they're holding and whether they're holding it correctly in compliance with the regulations. They need to have a look at whether they can transfer some of the risk to an insurer's balance sheet, take out cyber liability policy, as well as paying the fines to the extent that they're insurable by law. It also gives them crisis management, forensic investigations, and it sets up notification procedures to tell the data subjects that their data has been breached.
Okay, so obviously that's in case the worst should happen and you'd have like a data breach. Mm-hmm. Obviously there's other stuff that you can do as well to obviously prevent that data breach. There's going to be things that you're going to ask a business when you're going in to sell them that cover that they've got in place in order to even qualify to have the cover. So what sort of things would they be? What would you be expecting businesses to do?
Well, we first of all need to know what type of data they're storing and to what, if it's personal data, how much of it is there and where's it being stored and how secure is it and how many people have access to that data. So that, we're not just talking about people that are coming to you as a customer, but your employees, you're holding data on them as well. So you've got to get consent from your employees as well as your customers.
What do we need to do as a business to ensure that we're compliant in capturing that information?
Exactly the same as you need to do if you're any other type of business. You need to make sure that the data subjects are fully aware of what you're doing with that data, how you're storing that data, and what you're going to do with it.
Okay, and that they consent to us doing that?
Absolutely. Consent's the key.
Okay, so which suppliers should businesses be talking to about GDPR? Obviously they can talk to their insurance broker about it. Who else is it worth them speaking to about this?
Well, they need to, if they're outsourcing their IT, they need to talk to their outsourcer, whether that be cloud-based or somewhere else based. They also need to be talking to their employees, because their employees need to know about the seriousness of a data breach. In fact, most of the claims that we see come from data breaches resulting from employee error. Yeah.
So there's a training issue there.
Absolutely. It's not, so you need to look at not just the employees who are processing and handling data, but anybody in the organisation. Somebody can easily, by chance, send out a spreadsheet that's got a load of customer data on it. You know how easy it is to make mistakes like that. So everybody needs to be aware of the implications of that.